Hey, welcome back, Math Marbles. This is part 2 of our 4th grade video breakdown from 2024. And we're going to just do constructive response questions today. So in the first video, we just did all the multiple choice, and we saw that there are altogether 30 multiple choice questions on the first day, and there are 5 more on the second day. But I did all 35 in the first video. Now, all multiple choice problems are worth 1 point. And this is going to be important later when we have a conversation about all the points, because this entire test has 51 possible points. Now, the rest of the test is open-ended, so you're going to get 3 1-point questions. You're going to get 5 2-point questions. And then you're going to get 1 3-point question. All right, and so all this together is going to add up. Here's our constructive response. So you're going to get 3 plus 10, that's 13, plus 3, that's another 6. So you have 16 points altogether. Okay, so 35 plus 16 is going to give us 51 points. All right, so what we're going to do today is, because I know 4th graders are taking the test now on computer, we're going to do it on a computer platform so you can see what it looks like and how I kind of work through the problem and what I input in there. All right, so let's get started. Our first 1-point problem is just a geometry one where we have to figure out what is the measure in degrees. Okay, so what I'm going to do for this, I have to use a protractor. So I'm going to look for some tools, and I press that little button there. And here is my protractor. Come on, tap, there we go. And I'm going to put this little circle part in the bottom of the protractor right here in the corner of my angle. Okay, so that's going to help me out. And what I'm going to do is I'm also going to write, I want it to, come on, get to the tool I want. And the reason I'm doing that, like here is that little hole there so I can see it. And I'm starting here at 0 and I'm counting by degrees of 10. Like my angle, I can see where the other angle goes up to. So I'm just going to count 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, and it goes up to 70. And notice that it goes a little bit more than 70. It doesn't quite reach 75. But my angle is, that little arrow part is right between there. So I'm going to say it's about 72, 73 down. And that's it. That's all I need to tap in there. So for this type of problem, usually they want to see how close. It doesn't have to be exact degrees. They want to know within 5 degrees. So anywhere between, if I had said 70, would have taken it from 70 to 75 was usually the best estimate because our angle was somewhere in between there and there. All right, let's look at another 1-point question. What we're doing is listing all the factors of 21. So again, they just want to see the answer. And the answer here to get full credit is 1, 3, 7, and 21. All 4 numbers have to be there. So check in with your notes and see if you have the same thing. Now, obviously, they're not going to check your work, but two ways I've seen kids actually do this is, one, to either list factor pairs, like 21 times 1 and 7 times 3, and then use that to list the factors. Or they can use a factor rainbow, where they're using the biggest numbers first, the furthest apart. 1 and 21, those factors are going to be the furthest apart. And then usually kids start asking themselves questions, like they start asking, well, is 2 a factor? And the answer is no, because 21 is an odd number. Is 3 a factor? Yeah, 3 times 7. And then they start going down the list and asking, well, is 4 a factor? No. 21 is an odd number. Is 5 a factor? No. Is 6 a factor? No. And is 7 a factor? Yes, but we already got it, so we know we're done. So I've seen kids do that. And I've also seen kids just write it in this way, where it's almost like a U. And then when they go and do the list, the next number would have been 7, which already repeats, so they know they are done. All right, hit pause and jot this down. Give yourself either 0 points or 1 point. Here's our last 1-point problem. A square is divided into 2 equal triangles as shown. What type of triangles can be created when it's divided into 2 equal triangles? So there are 2 ways that we can talk about triangles. We can name them by their angle, or we can name them by their sides. So in this case, when I'm looking at my triangle, I notice that it has right angles. So I can call this a right triangle. That's one way we can call it. Now in terms of size, we just ask ourselves how many equal sides do we have? And because this is a square, all four sides are equal. So if I have just a triangle, I'm only looking at this triangle right here with two equal sides, then I will call this an isosceles triangle, which I always spell wrong. So let's see if I spelled this one right. So you can have two answers for this. This can be either a right triangle because it has a right angle, or it could be an isosceles triangle because it has two equal sides. Give yourself a point if you had either of those, but if you put obtuse or acute or scalene, 0 points. Equilateral, 0 points. All right, score your work. So now we're up to the 2-point questions, and some of them will ask us to explain. So because fourth graders are absolutely taking tests on computers now, I decided to use the equation editor from Nextera so that you can see how I either show my work, but also I have to give my answer on the bottom. So at the top, I can show work, answer bottom. But we also get scrap paper, and that's really important. Like, scrap paper is there for a reason. I'm not going to try and do all my thinking on the computer because there is a tech barrier. It takes a lot of mental energy to write this up on a computer. So I'm going to pretend that my left side is my paper, and then I'm going to show you what I would put on the right side. Cool? Cool. All right, so here's the first 2-point question. A soccer team sold water bottles to earn money for new soccer balls. They earn a total of $170. If the team pays $9 per soccer ball, what is the greatest number of soccer balls they can buy? So let's check in with your work. You should have, ooh, is it 18? No. It is not 18. Let's see, erase that for a minute. The answer is actually 15. And actually, no, the answer was. All right, from this point on, I'm going to split my screen so you can see the Nextera site, which is the site you're going to use on your computer. So this is my equation editor where I can show my work and put my final answer. And I'm going to give myself space for both. But also I'm going to pretend that my paper is on the left so that I can actually work out the problem. Because here's the thing. Some of the work that you're doing, like long division, I'm not trying to do long division on a computer while typing. It's a lot to concentrate on, to focus on, to try and fix. So I'm going to use my paper, and I have to decide what I'm going to put on the computer. And here they're asking me to explain my answer. So let's see how. I'll show you what I do with this one. All right, a soccer team sold water bottles to earn money for new soccer balls. They earned $170. And if the team pays $9 per soccer ball, what is the greatest number of soccer balls that they can buy with the money earned? Okay, so first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take 170 and I'm going to try and divide by 9. And you can see here, that's unless you have an iPad where you can do this. This is really hard to type. So if you have an iPad where you can do this, awesome. But if you don't, then this makes it really, really hard to do. So let me actually close that out now. I'm going to discard that. Because I want to encourage us to use your scrap paper. Put your thinking on scrap paper before you start putting things in here. Okay? All right. So I'm going to just divide as normal. 9 can't go into 1. 9 goes into 17 one time. 9 goes into 88 times. That's 72. And I have a remainder of 8. So they can buy 18 balls. That's the most they can buy. There's not enough for 19. They're $1 short. They wanted 19. Okay, so now I kind of need to explain all this, right? So again, they're not asking me to show my work in this one. They just want me to explain. So I'm just going to go to the answer box. And I'm going to type this in. Let's start by restating the question. What is the greatest number of soccer balls they can buy? The greatest number of soccer balls the team can buy is 18. Oh, I typed it. Is 18. 170, and this is where I could use some of my math notes. 170 divided by 9 is equal to, it's weird that it was giving me a number, 18 remainder 8. Let me give myself a little bit of space here. Okay. So they can buy 18 balls, but they do not have enough for 19 soccer balls. All right, so I also have to explain my answer. So I'm going to put in I use division to solve this problem, comma, when 70 divided by 9 is equal to 18 and remainder 18, period. So they had 18 balls and they do not have enough for 19 balls. So that's it. So give yourself a point if you said 18 was the greatest number they could buy. And again, you have to have that explained there, not just say 18. Really restate the question, and then you have to explain your answer. And in this case I did. I explained I used division and I had 18 remainder R, so I can buy 18, but there's not enough to buy 19. All right, so hit pause and score your work. Here's another 2-point problem. You have two numbers shown below, 4,699 and 4,780. Write the two numbers in expanded form. So I'm going to expand them and then compare them using my symbols. Be sure to include what you know about place value in your answer. Okie dokie. So I'm going to just use this stacking method to stack my numbers. So I know that I have on this side 4,000 plus 600 plus 90 plus 9. So these are all my numbers going down. And all I did was drag my numbers down. Right? And then I'll do the same thing to the other side. 4,000 plus 700 plus 80. Now this one looks smaller, doesn't it? Because I only have 3 numbers here versus this one 4. But when I compare, these two are the same. But when I compare my hundreds, 700 is bigger. So I'm going to rewrite that as, those are my numbers. And I'm going to say the number of the expanded form of 4,780 is larger. And I know the thousands have the same digits, are the same. Digits. But 700 is greater than 600. So that's just my scrap paper. So I got to do the same thing here, right? I have to be able to share what I know. So I'm going to do the same thing. So I would retype. And this is honestly where a lot of kids get frustrated because they're like, I'm doing double work. But seriously, this number sentence isn't that long. So this isn't a lot to recopy. If we're being really honest, I get we get tired. I get we get frustrated. But this isn't a lot to copy. We know it. So there I will get 1 point for being able to copy that part. And now I have to say which one is greater. I know 4,780 is greater because when I compared the largest place value, the thousands, they were the same, 4,000. But when I went to the hundreds, they were different. One had a 6 and one has a 7. The number of 7 in the hundreds is bigger because 700 is greater than 600. Boom. Drop mic. So simple sentences. I'm just saying what I did and how I know this is to be true. So that's all. I'm not trying to write a fancy paragraph here, but I'm just saying what I did. All right. So I answered the question and I read again just to check if I have any like little misspellings like value. I was typing with one hand since I'm holding a microphone. So there you go. So I can read over it again and just check to see if it makes sense. And it makes sense. So that's all you had to do for this one. You had to say which one was larger, and then you had to give a reason why to get your second point. Hit pause and look down at your work, and if you need to add anything else to make yours a better answer, do it now. All right, let's go to the next one, another 2-point. And this one, I do have to show my work. So not only do I have to give an answer, I have to show it. So the answer for this one, you can check with yours. Should be 5 3/4. So let's go into the problem and show what I have to do for that. I have to give the answer and show work on the computer. Luckily, I have an iPad with a pencil, with a stylus. So this is a little easier for me than I know it can be for most people. So I'm going to show how I would write it, but then I'll also show if I only had to type it. All right, so we have a line plot. We want to show the amount that Jamie is spending on his book report over 4 days. So I see he has on one day 3/4 of an hour, on 2 other days 1.5 for an hour, and then 2 hours at the end. So if I was just doing this on paper, I know I would do 3/4 plus 1 and 2/4 plus 1 and 2/4 plus 2. So altogether, in whole numbers, I would have 1 plus 1 plus 2, which is 4. And with my fractions, 4 is the denominator, 3 plus 2 is 5, plus 2 is 7. Okay? And because this is improper, because I have 7, so I'm going to draw my 7 circles. I'm going to circle 4, so that is equal to 1. So I'm going to add 1, and I get 5, and what's left, 3/4. How am I show all that in the work? This is the tough part. Okay, so this is what I'm going to do. So one, if I have a pencil, I could just draw this the same way. Oops. So when I tried doing that with my pencil, it looks weird. So I have to hit the little drawing picture. And I might have to draw, here's 3/4. And I would just recopy what I did. And then, because I know this is an improper fraction, I would just put 4 7/4 is equal to 5 3/4. So that's one thing. Again, if you have a stylus and you have an iPad, you can do that to just show the work. Like, notice there's not a picture. You can't take a picture of your work here, but you can do that. But if you don't, what do you do? So one, let's put in my final answer over here, and so I'm going to put in as a mixed number, tapping that, tap. Why is it not showing enough? I want it to show the full thing in there, but it's being really weird. How can we get it to show? Alright, so I guess I'm going to have to draw it this way. Tech. It's a tech issue. Okay. So let's say I had to show the work, and this is all in real time. So the same issues that you guys will sometimes have, I have too. So I have a choice where I can be really frustrated that button isn't working, or I can just try to figure out another way to show it. Now, if I'm super stressed, I'm more likely to get frustrated and go to angry and upset. But I'm not upset right now, so I can be a little frustrated and go, okay, it's all right. I can still show it in another way. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to write my fractions. I'm going to type in, now the button is working. There we go. 5, my final answer, and 3/4. So there's my final answer. And if I didn't have a stylus and I just had to type on a computer, I would just write in my fractions. So same thing as you guys, 3/4 plus, and I do my fraction again. Actually, this is a mixed number. There we go. 1 2/4. See, I'm figuring this out. It's okay. Plus, and I have to hit the mixed number again. 1 2/4 plus 2. Okay, so there we have it. And I'm going to have all this equal to 4 7/4 or 5 3/4. So that's how I would do it if I was just typing. Literally, that's it. I'm just typing it in. But do you see how it's so much easier? Because I already did this work over here, so I can just figure out what to type in there. Like, I don't have to do all my drawings and pictures if you're just typing. So just know that. But that's all I would have to do to show my work. And I have to have my final answer at the bottom. So if you had 5 3/4 and you can show how you added together, give yourself 2 points. If you had 4 7/4, I think they will still give you a point, but I like to always be super safe. Because you never know what teacher is going to look at that, and you might have a teacher who's like, oh, they didn't change it to a mixed number, and they may only give 1 point. So I like to be super careful and just give the simplest answer. All right, hit pause and jot this down into your notes. All right, let's keep this moving. All right, so with this one, you have 2 expressions below with multiplication and fractions. We need to know which expression has the greater, a value greater than 1. Oops, I wanted to highlight. And then give the answer, the value of each one in your answer. All right, so pretty much they're just saying, if I were to do this work, is this more or less than 1? Well, 2/4 is definitely less than 1. And here's B. Well, this one is more than 1. So I know that because my numerator is bigger than my denominator. So that's kind of what they're looking for. So this is my thinking. Expression A is 2/4 or 1/2. Oops. So forget that part in here. Hey, erase that little part. Oh, tech. Or 1/2, which is less than 1. Expression B is 5/2, which is greater than 1. Alright, so I kind of have to put that in there. They're not asking me to show work, which means you're only going to get 1 box to where you have to explain. That's it. So I need to type that in. So here's expression A. I have to show this. So we're going to type in, I'm going to use a fraction. 1/4 times, and I'm going to do another fraction. 2/1 is equal to, and my final answer is also a fraction, 2/4, which is less than 1 because my numerator is less than my denominator. Okay, all right, so then we'll do expression B, and I just do the same thing. I think the weirdest part is that I have to really decide to hit fraction instead of just a 5, so that I don't have that weird, so I don't have to keep on tapping buttons. So 5/2, and I'm going to type 4. And mixed number is 2 and 1/2. Or 2 1/2. Let me put that in there. Or 1/2. Okay. This value is greater than 1 because my original 5 was more than 2. I changed the improper fraction to a mixed number, and 2 is 2 and a half is greater than 1. And yeah, that's it. So here's my whole answer. I did all the things they asked, which was I answered both. I showed what the value of A and B. I said which one was greater, and I gave a reasoning why, which one was greater than 1, and I said why. That's all you had to do. Explaining is kind of the weirdest part because it kind of seems like this is a silly question, like it's a little easy. How do I explain something I can clearly see? They really just want to know that simple thinking. They just want to know that you know what a fraction is. You can tell when a number is greater than 1. That's all they're asking for. So show them what you know. All right, hit pause and give yourself either 0, 1, or 2 points. Here's our next one. We have a rhombus, and we have to use what we know about parallel, perpendicular, or intersecting lines to describe one of the sides. So just by looking at it, I know that these are parallel sides. They're always the same distance apart. They're never going to touch. These two are parallel, and these two are parallel. I don't see any right angle, so I don't see anything perpendicular. Intersecting lines, yeah. This line intersects with this line. They touch here. This line touches this line, this touches here. But I only had to talk about one of the lines. So here's what you can say. You can say like AD, which is this one, is parallel to BC, or AB is parallel to DC. So you can use either of those, and those lines will never intersect. So you're not showing your work, instead you're just answering. So I would say the same thing. Line AD, or instead of writing AD, I could use this symbol and just type in there AD is parallel, and they only want one line, so I'm going to give them one set of lines. So AD and BC is parallel to BC. These lines will never intersect. They are always the same distance apart, even if you extend the lines. Extend the lines. And done. That's all they were looking for. So I could go and type even more. I can say AB is parallel to DC. I can put that in if I wanted to. AB is also parallel to, and do the same thing DC. There are no perpendicular lines since there are no right angles created from the intersecting. Nice. So I just want a little extra, but literally all you had to do was say, was talk about a pair of lines. That's it. You had to pick 2 sets of lines and say something about them. And as long as you mentioned that they were either parallel and name the right lines, or name 2 lines that intersect, then you will get a point. And then explain your reasoning. And that's it. That's all they're looking for. So this is how you can see my simple sentences. So get an idea of what they're looking for here. Hit pause and look at your work. Give yourself either 0, 1, or 2 points. All right, we're finally up to the last one. This is a 3-point problem. So I have to explain how I know my answer is correct for this one. So it's not so much to show your work, but there's some explaining I have to do. So chairs are being set up for an event. There are 11 rows of 12 chairs. When the event is over, they put the chairs away on racks. Each rack holds 9 chairs, where there's the fewest number of racks they need to hold the chairs. Okay, so first I want to figure out how many chairs. So I'm going to do 11 times 12 is 132. That just tells me the chairs. And now I'm going to do 132 divided by 9. Because I know that's how I'm putting them away. 9 goes into 42 4 times. And I have 6 left over. So I have 14 full racks plus one more partial. So altogether, I'm going to need 15 racks, but I can't leave any chairs out. So this is kind of what you would need in order to get your full points. The least number of rows is 15. And then explaining, because here I'm not showing my work, 11 times 12 is 132. 132 divided by 9 is 14, with a remainder of 6 in the 15th row. That's it. So that's all I would have to type here in my box. You divide. So now I would just say the next part, 132 divided by 9 is 14, remainder 6. I would have 14 full rows and a 15 row with some chairs. Since I can't leave chairs out, they need at least 15 racks for all the chairs. And done. So see, this one, they didn't even ask me to show my work, but they did ask me how I know my answer is correct. Huge difference here. So I didn't put anything in that top part. I could have, but I explained it clearly. I explained how I got my answer 15. I explained that how I figured out the number of chairs is 132, and then that I divided it, and why my answer isn't 14 but 15. So those are all the things they're looking for to get a full 3 points. Now if you're missing any of those points, you can give yourself 2 points. If you're missing a lot of it, give yourself 1 point. And if you're totally off base and you had a very different answer, give yourself 0. But that's it. That's the last question. I hope you found this super useful. I'm still using a lot of these sites and getting used to it, because I want you to see that even me as an adult, I sometimes have trouble with the tech, and it's not always about the math content. Sometimes it's just about the technology, and depending on the kind of tech you're using in your school, you're going to be able to do different things. And I noticed that a lot of times they're not asking to show work, because I think they know that a lot of kids are working on laptops and are typing their answers or drawing, or if they have a touchpad, they might be drawing with a finger. So I'm using that to my advantage, and that means I might have to be ready. I might have to be ready to really explain how I know my answer is correct. And I want you to be ready for that too. But I hope you found this really helpful. If there are any questions here that you were unsure about or you want to see more about, put it in the comments. If you have other strategies, please share them with other people and other kids can read them. I'm not giving you all the different ways, and there's definitely more than one way to solve some of these. So share them with one another. I hope you found this helpful. We're going to just break down the number of points now so you can see where you would land if you took that test today. So I made this little chart. Altogether, there are 51 points on the 4th grade state test. Remember, there are 35 multiple choice questions. So in order to get a level 3, which says you're proficient in math, you need to get about 29 points. And that means that can come from multiple choice and constructor points. Multiple choice questions are all worth 1 point, so count up how many you got right, and then add up all the points from the constructed. And if you, depending on what you get, that's your raw score, and this will tell you what your level would be. So this is a really conservative one, meaning I made it harder. I'd much rather we aim for a harder score, make it a little harder now, than be super easy on ourselves and disappointed if it's harder on the state test. So that's why I did it this way. So on this exam, you would need 29 points in order to get a 3. To be a level 4, you would need 48 points, so you'd have to have most of the test correct. To be a level 2, you would need 19 points. And that's it. That's how we study and practice for this test. Now, anything that you didn't know how to do, definitely study and practice. These are very similar to the types of questions you're going to get on the state test on computer. So please practice with them. If you have different strategies, share them. There are so many other ways to do these problems and get the same answers that are mathematically sound. I'm just showing you a few ways. I'm sure you have more. And if you do have questions or you want to see videos on other topics to help you be prepared for the state test, just ask in the comments. Tell me what other things you want to see, or if you want additional practice problems, and I'll make some videos for you. With that, I wish you the very best of luck on the state test, and I'll see you in the next one as 5th graders. Be well, Math Marvels. Bye.